Okay, it's 3 o'clock. I'm calling this meeting to order. The first order of business is for us to convene as the Board of Canvassers. We have one, two, three, four, five of us present, I believe. So we have a quorum, both parties represented. Boris, please proceed.
So, just very briefly, there is a state board, Maryland State Board of Elections requirement to produce canvass minutes for every canvass session that a board had for the 2026 primary election. The state board requirement is to produce one set of minutes for each time the board of canvassers met, which is kind of a departure from we had previously done when we would produce one set of minutes to encompass every event. I shared with the board a quite lengthy document, I would say, of some 50 pages that covers every canvass session that we had for the 2026 gubernatorial primary election. The requirement is for the board to meet as a board of canvassers in order to adopt these canvass minutes before proceeding with the regular board of elections work. There was one caveat I have to emphasize for the board. There is a bit of overlap in terms of minutes that staff prepared for both board of the canvassers and the board of elections. You will see in the canvass minutes that we covered, as I said, every time the board of canvassers met, including certification, decertification, and the recertification. But you also will see that we produced regular minutes for those meetings that board met in the board room to do that part of the board business. I'm not sure what was the right answer. We therefore produce both sets. One set that follows the template for the State Board of Elections and is part of the canvass minutes. Second set for those meetings that follow the board template that we produce and publish at our website. So I apologize if we overdid it, but as I say, we were not sure how to proceed. Therefore, we produce both sets for the board to review and accept. One as a board of canvassers, another one as a regular board, following, as I said, both templates, one for the state, one for the board on the back end.
Boris, I don't consider that overdoing it. I consider that to be kind of like belt and suspenders. That we're covering our bases. If someone is looking for our certification meetings in the future and they want to either see the minutes or they want to see the recording, they will be along with our other board meetings. And meanwhile, the state has a requirement to include them in their minutes, so you've included them in their minutes. So I just wanted to make sure that we were doing whatever we were supposed to do, and I'm glad that we are.
And maybe I just may add, David, that on the top of everything, our canvas sessions recordings are available, video recordings on our website. So I think we touch more than sufficient number of bases to provide for the openness of the Board of Canvassers business.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we are, as the board members know, we are the only local board in Maryland that live streams our canvas, and we make those recordings available. And so the public has lots of opportunities to see our work. So the chair would entertain a motion to approve the canvas minutes. Presumably, it would be as of whatever the last set of amendments was, and I don't remember whether those were mine or Ami's or somebody else's.
I think they were yours, David.
Okay, so my last email was at 9:53 this morning, according to my computer. That was the amendment where I made sure that everyone's attendance at that one meeting, which was, I believe, the recertification meeting, that everyone's attendance was noted in the canvas minutes. So is there a motion to approve the canvas minutes?
I will move that we approve the canvas minutes as amended by me and by David.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Ami, seconded by Alex. All board members, including substitutes, can vote on this because we're in the Board of Canvassers. All in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous of those present. Um, I see Kina is just joining us. I'm quite sure that she's going to approve the minutes, but that's up to her. Okay, I believe that, Boris, do we have any other business for the Board of Canvassers? Are we going to discuss the ballot, the late ballots at this point?
So late ballots, following the Comar changes from this year, the board doesn't have to reject untimely ballots after the certification. However, again, for the sake of everything that we do and how we do it, the report that was previously submitted to the board now is integrated in my election director's report. So I'll go over those ballots in the due course. So
Okay,
there's no
so
further business for the
you'll do
board.
that as, if I understand correctly, Boris, you're saying we do that as part of our regular board meeting, not as part of a Board of Canvassers meeting.
That's
Is
correct.
that
Basically, you will receive the information, but following the changes from this year, there is no need for the board to reject untimely ballots after the certification anymore.
okay? Well, it's certainly no fun to reject late ballots, but it's also no fun to receive them. So but anyway, we will not deal with that now. So let's adjourn the Board of Canvassers meeting now at 3:06 p.m. And I will call the Board of Elections meeting to order. And we not only have a quorum present, we have the entire membership present. And I think the first thing on the agenda are my comments, and I do have a few things to comment on today. First, just want to acknowledge that today is my late mother's birthday. She had an immigrant's enthusiasm for our democratic system that let's just say that her children and grandchildren have definitely inherited. And I'm just thinking of her as I do this work. I also wanted to mention the passing this summer of two real giants of Montgomery County who did not serve an elective office, but were real community leaders. One of them was a gentleman named Devance Walker, and the other was a woman named Wilma Holmes. And I got to know both of them 40 plus years ago when I was the student member of the school board in the 1970s. And they were friends and mentors to me then and since. And they both passed away this summer. Devance was, I believe, the first minority affairs advisor to a county executive. I believe that he served multiple county executives, starting with Sidney Kramer. I believe it was Kramer, Potter, and Duncan, but I might not be correct on that. Wilma Holmes was the first director of the Montgomery County Public Schools Department of Human Relations, which was an office that was trying to improve the racial climate of Montgomery County public schools. And I got to know her when she was in that position. She went on to be a school principal for 20 years. And one of the great honors that I've had is that after her passing, I read a book that she wrote about being a principal, and I even got a mention for she called me a successful lawyer, which I hope is true. And they said we've been friends ever since, and I know that to be true. So anyway, I just wanted to note that I will miss them both. Um, I also wanted to give a big thank you to our staff because there is a tendency for everyone, maybe even including board members, but probably not including us, but a tendency for everyone to think that then the election's over, everything ends. And then we just wait for the next election. But I only can give you a small sense of what the staff has been doing since I think we certified in the middle of July. But remember that the staff received um, a large number of petition signatures to review that they had to do between the end of July and today. They also were required by federal law to make any updates to the voter rolls by, I believe it's the 90-day mark before the election, which was in early August. And they're already doing much planning for the November election. I believe that some individuals may have gotten some time off here and there, but in general, they have been hard at work since we certified the election, and will be, I'm sure, until we certify the general election, if not later than that. So I want to just send kudos to them and thank you for all of their work. Is there anyone else who wants to make comments before I talk about today's agenda? Alex. Alex, you are muted.
Sorry. Just more of a housekeeping matter. I know I owe you a response on the Canvas availability. I will get that to you tonight. I just haven't had a chance to get to it today. I apologize for that.
Okay. No worries. Tonight is acceptable for those who haven't responded yet. I'll just say for the public's benefit that the staff is not the only one who's preparing for the fall. We are gathering everybody's schedules and trying to make sure that we have quorum of board members available when we need to in order to get our work done as well. And that is what Alex is um, referring to. So, anyone else who has anything they want to add at this point? Okay, so in terms of additions and changes to the agenda, I have one addition and I have one small change. The addition is that we were asked by the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County to talk about our guidance about printed home versus postal service ballots and about the timing if people are going to return their ballots by U.S. mail, and we are going to discuss that under old business. This is, I believe, just unless the board says otherwise, a repeat of what we've said before, but it's a reminder to everyone of what we've said, so that it's fresh in everyone's mind as to what our views are. And then the other thing that I was going to suggest, and Boris, I haven't had a chance to ask you this question yet, but I was wondering whether we might be able to move now to any discussion that we plan to have about the referendum signatures, so that if anyone is watching explicitly for that purpose, that they don't have to wait for some time later in the meeting to hear about that. Of course, the board, the election director made a determination and an announcement just a few hours ago. Anyway, my thought was that perhaps we could address that now, if that's okay.
Not a problem. Not a problem with me.
Okay. Yes, I talked to Kevin while you were off camera, so he said it was good for him, and I think you guys are really the only ones. So why don't you go ahead?
Kevin, do you want me just to start about the technicalities about the dates, and you can cover the legal part?
Sure.
So just very, very briefly, committee to submitted signatures in two tranches. The first one on July 21st, the second one on July 27th. Total number of signatures that was submitted by this committee that was processed by the team here at the Board of Elections is 14,074. We respected the legal deadlines. We processed the signatures within 20 days from the day we received the first tranche and then the second tranche. So today was the legal deadline to announce the results of our work, our processing of the second tranche, and the total for the petition effort of the committee itself. On the end, when we processed all the signatures that were submitted, as we counted them, as I said, out of 14,074 signatures that were submitted by the committee to the Board of Elections to verify validity of those signatures, we verify validity of 9,698 signatures, and we rejected on various grounds 4,370 signatures of the total submitted. Recognizing that committee did not submit 10,000 or more signatures that were validated as acceptable by the Board of Election staff, a notice of determination of petition was issued today indicating that petition was unsuccessful, meaning it didn't meet the legal requirement of the number of signatures, and therefore, as such, the question that petition was collecting signatures for will not appear on the 2026 gubernatorial general election ballot. We again, the notice of determination was shared with the committee itself. Anyone who is interested can find the notice of determination on our website. And maybe hour and a half ago, 2 hours, we issued a press release explaining these numbers in detail and providing a link to anyone who is interested to learn more about the notice itself and the reasoning why petition was unsuccessful. That would be, in a very brief summary, the technical part of the petition process on our end, on the staff level. Again, 9,698 accepted signatures, 4,376 rejected. In summary, the petition was not successful.
Okay, now I may not be doing my math right here, so I apologize for this, but I thought you said 14,074. Was it 14,076?
No, it's 74. It's
So
9,698 plus 4,376.
Oh, 4,376. Okay.
Yeah.
That's where I got it wrong. Thank you very much. So it was 4,376 that were rejected, 9,698 that were verified. Thank you for that. Kevin, anything you'd like to add? And also if you can give an explanation of the kinds of things that make a signature rejected.
Okay, so first I want to compliment the staff for all their hard work. Everyone who participated in the petition verification and validation process went through training, had to attend a PowerPoint presentation. There was senior review by Boris, Sandy, and Lolita, and myself, quite frankly, for issues where there basically a factual determination had to be made. Under the election law article, under Title VI of the election law article, it sets forth, in Comar, sets forth the right to petition, but also sets forth a variety of requirements that need to be made. What the staff is looking at initially is to make sure that the actual petition format is correct. In other words, there is a proper summary of what is the issue at hand. So in this particular case, there needed to be the information regarding the particular charter amendment to require a unanimous vote of the council. There were certain signatures that were rejected on that basis. It is a requirement of Maryland law that the circulator approve to the satisfaction of the board that they collected signatures, that they actually saw the person sign the signature in front of them. And so there can be issues with date requirements. Another circulator issue can be that the circulator has to provide certain information, contact information, in connection with their efforts, as well as to have the signature on each petition page. So a circulator issue is something that could be a basis for a rejection, and 816 signatures were rejected on that basis. There has been an evolution of what I call the name standard, which started with Doe and then evolved into, I believe, either the FOP or fire or rescue or the other way around, where you need to sign your name as it appears on the voter registration list or your surname of registration. Under Doe, which was, I think, 2006, which involved.
Doe would being a case that was at the highest court in Maryland.
Correct. It was a challenge to Montgomery County passing legislation for gender identity rights. Basically, in that case, the court said that you had to sign your name as it appeared on the voter registration list or your surname of registration. The rejection rate was so high in Doe under that standard that they then went and combined that if you can go ahead and the signature requirement is made by looking at with the person how they signed it, as well as they printed their name and they had all of the components that would be required under the name standard, that you identify yourself as you appear on the voter registration list. But that's a high standard as well. And the name standard is, 1,091 of the signatures that were ultimately determined to be not meet the requirements of Maryland law fell under the name standard. And then the highest group was not registered to vote. These are just individuals who are do not appear on Maryland's MD voters, and or we were unable to locate them in MD voters because, quite frankly, their name was incorrect or their legibility of their handwriting was such that the staff couldn't determine who they were. So, those are really the big reasons why there would be a rejection, and those are the larger categories of rejections. The Maryland election law article indicates, and Boris's determination advised, that anyone who feels that they were an aggrieved party to the decision made by the board election director in terms of his determination, they have 10 days after the date of the determination to file suit in the circuit court for Montgomery County. That would be heard on a very much an expedited basis because once the circuit court issues a ruling, one has a right of a direct appeal to the Maryland Supreme Court, which would hear the case in early September. So we're talking about a very tight timeline in terms of getting the case through if a challenge is filed. Who knows whether one will be filed? I'll keep the board posted on that issue. But for now, the staff has done their due diligence. Multiple rounds of review have been done. And so, that's where we are. They're short a couple hundred signatures. And so the Maryland Constitution requires 10,000 valid signatures. They do not have 10,000 valid signatures. And accordingly, that's why the election director has determined that it should not appear on the general election ballot. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Where we are now is the committee is asked to look at the petition and I guess assess whether they think that there is a viable basis to file a challenge. It is the standard of review. We have several lawyers on this on the board, so the standard of review, some of them are just pure legal questions. In other words, it doesn't meet a particular legal standard. And the other is more of an administrative determination. For example, did the staff see that the name standard was met or not met? That is not a pure legal question where the board, from pure legal questions, the board is entitled to no deference at all, to the extent it was a factual determination as to whether all of the information was present. Then what the court will actually be looking at is if there was a substantial basis in the record for the staff to have made that recommendation. Ms. Boris and I don't know if it was 2 years ago or 4 years ago, time flies when you're having fun, but we literally went on a petition, a candidate petition, and went sort of one by one in terms of challenges that the candidate was making with regard to the board's ruling on certain signatures. I assume we would follow very much a similar path if indeed a petition for judicial review is filed. But again, I don't know whether one will or will not be filed. We'll find out in the next 10 days.
I think that was 4 years ago, what you're referring to. But in any event, Alex, did you have a question?
Yes, I did, David. A couple
Yeah.
sort of quick factual questions and then a broader question for Kevin. There were a number reported as date issue and signature issue. What would typically be the issues there?
Date issue may be there is no date. It may be a date that is after the circulator has put on the circulator line the date that they had, they collected the signature. So let's say the circulator said that they saw people sign this petition on, let's just say, May 14th. And then you look on the petition page itself and someone put down May 15th. That obviously you can't, I mean, maybe it's an honest mistake. That certainly happens all the time, but under Maryland law, that would be something where you'd have to reject it. The signature may be there is no signature.
Or
They
meaning
just
that,
printed it.
they printed their name but didn't sign it?
Right.
Is that typically what you've seen? Okay.
Well, there are 345 in that category. The date issue is 218. There is a COMAR provision regarding duplicates. You're not permitted to sign a petition more than once. So you can't obviously sign it twice. So there's a section, there's a rejection code for duplicate name. That's 410. Invalid new address is 272. Name standard 1091. Not registered 1208.
Well, I had a broader question, and I know you may not have the figures in front of you or may not recall, but looking at the math overall, it looks like almost 1 out of 3 total signatures were rejected. Does that strike you as higher than what you've seen with petitions in the past?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, if one were to ask me, and I have been asked before, if you want to have some degree of confidence that your petition is going to meet the minimum threshold, you should have 16,000 signatures. Because there are, the standards are fairly high. A lot of people don't understand the requirements, and quite frankly, you're going to get a lot of people that sign it and they don't sign with their real name. I mean, they give a fake name.
Oh, they give it. Okay, I see.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's not at all unusual. So if you want to be in the comfort zone of having 10,000 valid signatures, you really should be looking for at least 16,000. Boris, and please, if you recall, because I do not, and the term limits petition was how many? But it was well over. I mean, I think it was more like 20,000, right? You there, Boris?
Sorry, I was muted. So I literally just pulled it up to take a look at as we are getting into this conversation. So term limits had 21,000 signature submitted, out of which we accepted almost 16,000 and rejected 5,000. So in that case, the committee had 6,000 almost signatures more than legally required. Now, Alex, if I may be very brief and free on this one, there you would calculate now from this that the rejection rate was roughly like 25%, maybe
32%. Considerably higher than what was the case for the term limits petition.
You guys may be talking about 2 different years here. I think Boris was talking about term limits.
Yeah, that's correct.
Alex is talking about the current one.
So term limits, the rejection rate was around 25%. Now the rejection rate is 31%. There, in my personal view, and I again, we'll leave this for the further discussion, and the committee obviously is free to make a determination. In 2024 petition, and Kevin would recall, I believe that there was a high number of signatures that were removed from the petition itself by the committee itself, meaning they went through the signatures, and Kevin, if you recall, they crossed out, I don't want to speak publicly, but I would say a few thousand signatures before even we got it.
So those crossed out ones would not have been part of the 14,000 then?
No,
They
we're
would
not
not,
talking, once again, we're not talking about the same year. Boris
Yeah,
is talking about from 2024,
Oh,
Yeah.
correct?
so all I'm trying to say, if those crossed out, I have to go back and look. If those crossed out were calculated into rejection rate, I think that rejection rate, Kevin, would be almost going up to this level.
So the
So-
21,000 didn't include the committee going through before they even submitted it and removing them. So, and that was not the case with this. And you know, the rate's going to vary depending upon, quite frankly, the sophistication of the circulator.
Mhm.
I always recommend, even if you don't think you use your middle name for anything. If you got a middle name, put it down.
Yeah,
so if you sign your first, middle, and last name, but your voter registration doesn't, omits the middle name, is that invalid?
That's valid. You never get penalized for providing more information. You get
Okay.
penalized for not.
I see.
So if I put Kevin Karpinski and I didn't put Kevin B. Karpinski, that would get rejected. And I don't use my middle name for anything. So unless I had a circulator there telling me, put down everything, your full name. That's kind of how this goes.
I'll just point out that if they crossed out 2,000 names in 2024, they would have been almost exactly at the percentage that we're at for this year's referendum.
I really cannot recall how
Yeah.
many names were crossed in 2024, but there was quite few names that were crossed.
Alex, further questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Board members? Okay, thank you very much, and I appreciate everyone's flexibility in terms of dealing with that up front. We're up to disclosures of campaign contributions and attendance at fundraisers. I'm disclosing today that since we last met, I attended but did not contribute to a Westmore fundraiser in Bethesda. I was invited by the host with whom I interned on Capitol Hill 45 years ago. So the campaign had almost no involvement other than I was there. So I just want board members to know that I did do that a couple months ago. Anyone else have anything to report? All right, public comments. Boris, do we have anyone who has signed up for public comments?
No one has signed for public comments for today's meeting.
Okay, do we have anyone who is in attendance who would like to public comment? If you are in attendance online, please raise your virtual hand. And seeing none, Boris, is there anyone in the room who wants to public comment?
We have an observer in the room, but no public comments to be made today.
Okay, thank you very much to the public. Boris, time for the election director's report.
Okay, I'll be very brief. The director's report is available on our website under today's board meeting. It was shared with the board last Thursday and published in the same time. The report covers all the regular sections, including notice of distribution of the materials, and voter registration statistics is on the first page as well. The number that will reveal is that at the end of July, Montgomery County is still over 700,000 registered active voters, with inactives going up to 63,000. My report also provides a party breakdown as well as net changes in a party affiliation since I believe last report. This is from June to July changes. You will see that all the parties are negative. This is the process of return mail and removing people from the inactivating people as a part of the regular list maintenance activities. When it comes to the State Board of Elections, I just wanted for the record to state that state certified elections on 23rd. More detail on our day-to-day work when it comes to personnel. We are working with the county HR department to advertise the voter registration specialist position that will be within the voter services, more precisely within the voter registration, to assist with everyday voter registration work and overall processes, including list maintenance, voter registration, provisional ballots, and such. Later on, we should be advertising the manager for administrative services position that will be based on the admin part of the building. When it comes to the temporary positions, just again for the board, for the public, our board of elections is like accordion. We expand, we contract depending on where we stand in the election season. We have plenty of temporary employees around the election day. Many of them parted ways with us for the summer, but they'll be coming back in a run-up to general election as the election calendar has tasks on the schedule for us to start. Currently, we have 31 temporary employees. These are employees who stay with us to help us with the petition, who stay with us to help us with all those list maintenance activities that I'll mention later in the report. Recruitment is back on board because we are rolling out our effort to recruit and train election judges for the general elections. And of course, the trainers are up. They're going through the TOT, train the trainers as we speak, with the possible, I think that first training should be coming up on July 24th. Oh, sorry, 26th, July, August, sorry. When it comes to budget, when it comes to budget, there is a budget expenditure document that was shared with the board, and it's published on our website. We entered the new fiscal year on July 1st. When it comes to the budget expenditures, as you might assume, in the first month, we are not talking about any major expenditures that are directed for this fiscal year itself. Majority of our expenses will kick in as we get closer to a general election and in the post election period where we start paying all the bills. When it comes to voter communication, the board knows that we have established practice of sending mass emails to every registered voter in Montgomery County who share their email address with us. We kind of do that both in election and non-election year. We are planning to send another round of emails towards the end of this month. Those emails will invite voters to double check their voter registration, make sure that's up to date, consider whether they want to vote in person or vote by mail, and provide them with the options how to choose one or another. I think that historically this effort helped us a lot to remind the voters what's coming up their way, give them a chance to click on the button while they are reading emails to go to the links and update their voter registration as they read those emails. When it comes to the section activities, let me start first with the voter services. Big chunk of the work in the last period was petition itself. As I said, we were processing signatures since we got the first tranche, then the second one. But in the same time, this is very particular part of the year between the primary and general election for the voter services, and I would say the whole building itself. We are on a very condensed schedule to do many activities as a part of close-up of the 2026 primary and preparation for 2026 general election. just to paint a picture for the board and the public, is that voter registration updates start taking place once the state certifies elections, right? You also will recall that voter registration deadline was 3 weeks before the election day, and the state certified the election a month after the election day. Every transaction that happened in that period was kept on the side by the state board and only forwarded to us for processing once state certified election. I cannot speak from the top of my head exactly, but I believe that we got around 25,000 records to update. This was overlapped with the petition. This was overlapped with the bounced sample ballots, all the bounced mail, and all the edits that we got, and jury commission, and all other files. Caveat that really made this calendar even more condensed is that NVRA deadline, so-called 90 days quiet period. It's 90 days before the election day. Once we hit the deadline, we cannot change the status of the voter anymore from active to inactive. So that was the rush on our end to do as much as possible, right, before this federal deadline kicks in. In addition to all of these regular activities, including processing of the received mail-in ballot applications, we are also preparing to start hiring Dropbox attendants, volunteers for nursing home program, and of course trying to check availability for any volunteer who wants to serve as a canvasser for the 2026 general election. There's one chart in my report that we very briefly touched upon in the very beginning, is the list of untimely ballots that I would like to present to the board as a part of the voter services activities, because vote by mail falls under that. Since the deadline to receive mail-in ballots, which was July 6th, we have received 151 ballots for the 2026 primary that were untimely for that election itself. As in previous years, we organized them in two broad categories: domestic and so-called Yokawa, anything that comes from overseas, right? So if you look at my report, you will see that numbers are designated as late, which means late mailed, late received. Late mailed we determine based on the postage that is on the envelope itself, and late received is, of course, the date when we receive it. There are some ballots that are timely but late, meaning the postmark indicates on the envelope itself that envelopes were mailed before or on election day, June 23rd, but were received by this office after the legal deadline. And of course, there's a third category, which is titled uncertain late, meaning we cannot determine the date when the envelope was put in a USPS or any mail stream, because there's no postmark on it. But we know that those envelopes were received late in this office. So when it comes to the voting system and information technology section, again, big task between the primary and general is something that we call PEM, post-election maintenance. We are talking about the equipment that was dispatched to early voting and election day polling places for the primary. It has to go through the post-election maintenance in order to be prepared for the upcoming general election. There is a sequence in which equipment is being prepped, including scanners, BMDs, and poll books. Janet and her team are following on all of that. Again, our manager, Janet Ross, she's still working with the tabs on our election judges, our system that we use to recruit election judges. I was very honest with the board and public previously. It's a new system. We did the testing on our side, but the only real test is when the 6,000 external users start to use it. And then we identify what are the glitches, what are the things that need to be corrected or could be corrected for the system to be as good as possible. So that's in our focus to try to implement changes that we can implement between the elections with the rest of the feedback that we receive from the election judges that we will hope to implement in 2027. When it comes to election operations section, Mindy Williams, who is a manager, I think that her input is says it very simply that we are both in the post-election and pre-election season in the same time. So we are trying to close the primary and work to prepare for the general in the same time. So anything that's related to the supply of the supplies needed for the early voting or election day, anything that can be prepped ahead of time, any shredding of unvoted ballots from the 2026 primary that would open the space in the warehouse, because space is a premium in our line of work these days. When it comes to outreach, recruitment, and training section, outreach board has a standard point on the agenda where Dr. Zlai will join us to talk more about details on that. When it comes to recruitment, stipends went out for election judges who served with us in the primary, but at the same time, we are opening a system now to onboard new election judges and to enable those who are returning to start signing up soon for the training classes. We did follow up with the voters who expressed interest to serve as election judges through voter registration or at the polling place. That's kind of a standard process, and we have got to 1,200 individuals who expressed interest to serve one way or another. Again, we'll follow up with all of them and see where our recruitment numbers are as we get closer to election. As in previous cycles, I'll be reporting to the board if we are on target or if there are areas where we need to improve hiring. One item for the training is that we prepared a kind of checkpoints of the performance evaluation of each polling place. Those reports are individualized for each polling place, and they were shared with both chiefs from those individual polling places. The goal is to provide kind of feedback to the chiefs, especially those. I think every chief would benefit from it, especially those who will be returning at their home polling places to see what to pay attention going into general election. Because I believe that anything that we can do to make the process easier for our voters, to improve the diligence in procedures at the polling place, timeliness, or make it more efficient, we are all for it as much as our volunteers are for it. So I believe this to be a good exercise. So this will conclude my report for the August 17th board meeting. If there are any questions from the board, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Boris. Alex, I'll come to you in just a minute. Boris, could you please follow up on the category of ballots that are the domestic, timely mailed but late received? There appear to be only 3 of those, but it's still quite remarkable that someone would mail a ballot domestically by June 23rd, and we would not receive it by July the 6th, which is just shy of 2 weeks later.
Okay.
And I know I'd like to know, and I'm guessing other board members might like to know, anything we can find out where they were mailed from, anything we can find out about the story, and perhaps we might want to follow up with our friends at the Postal Service to see. I think we have a lot of experience with overseas ballots taking longer. And obviously, if the ballots are mailed late, that's a different category. But I think people who mail their ballots by election day, especially domestically, should reasonably expect that we will get them, by normally the 10-day deadline. Ami, did you have something about that?
Yeah, my question would be, were they mailed locally, i.e., somewhere in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, or were they mailed in, Podunk Town in state XYZ, which may be a different problem altogether.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's important to know. I think even if it's mailed from somewhere very rural in another state far away, 2 weeks is a long time.
Sure, no, I
Uh,
agree, but
you know,
I'd be curious as to whether the large percentage of them is sort of our metropolitan area or not.
yes. Um, okay, thank you. And then Boris, would this be the time to ask you a budget related question?
Yes, please.
So I saw on the budget that we have a payment of about almost $2 million for election judge stipends. And I'm guessing that that is for the election that has just passed as opposed to the election that's coming up. But I was hoping that you could shed some light on that very large expenditure.
I apologize for not covering immediately. So you are correct, David. It's a payment for the stipends for the 2026 primary election. However, this payment has to come out from the budget from fiscal 2026. What happened is that a charge was made against the fiscal 2027, but the charge will be replenished from the account that was set aside in fiscal 26 for these purposes. So it's literally accounting measure that we pulled the report before the process was finalized to enable the payments to the final users from the current fiscal year, while internally the money will be supplemented from the money that was embarked from in 2026. So 1.9 million, bit shy under 2 million, was the cost of the stipends that were issued for the election judges who served in the 2026 primary. But again, this is accounting. Money will be replenished. So this whole budget line is dedicated for the stipends for all the election judges who will come and serve in 2026 general election.
All right. So the replenishment hasn't happened yet, but the budget amount that was there will be available to pay the stipends for the general election, which will take place during the current fiscal year.
That's correct. So
Okay.
this is nothing new that happens between when we move from one fiscal year to another. Again, election day was 7 days before the end of the fiscal year. You would understand that county finance and county accounting does not really align their activities against our election calendar and canvas sessions. So they had to move along and do what they needed to do with the understanding that we had money appropriated in 2026 for these purposes. Money was available, just was not accessible in the new fiscal year. So they have to do some internal transactions at some point. I wish I could explain in more detail the accounting process, but I don't think that anyone wants me to even try to do that. So
no, I think that was about the level of detail that was right for me.
Okay.
At least speaking for myself. Alex.
Yeah, David, you asked exactly the question that I had. My concern was that it appeared on paper that we had blown through a good deal of the budget and would not have enough left to pay the general election canvasser. So it's very comforting to know that's not the case.
it's
Okay.
Thank you. Fiscal year.
Yes, thank you for paying attention and thank you, Boris, for the explanation. We're going to send you the medical bills for the heart attacks over the weekend from looking at that document and thinking that we have no money left to pay any election judges for the general election. But I don't want to start any rumors. We have the money to pay election judges for the general election. We encourage everybody to sign up. We will be paying you. The money will be there. So anything else about the director's report?
Oh,
Alex.
David, I have one follow-up question. There was one person who contacted me and said they hadn't gotten their stipend yet. Do we have an idea when the stipends actually were distributed?
So there was like maybe 10 days ago. So
Yeah, about 10 days.
I think that the last round of checks went out like 10 days ago. I know that there was some hiccup at some banks, but that was fixed within the 24 hours. I also know, I'm not saying this is the case, Alex, that we had some volunteers whose addresses on the check does not correspond to necessarily to current address where they reside, because they provided certain addresses when they sign up. So we are dealing with those. If you or any other board member come across any volunteer with any problems, please just direct them to us, because the team needs to pull up their record to track down what really happened. We have a list of election.
Can I make a suggestion there, please? Which is that if somebody contacts us by email, I think that what we can do is we can forward that to Boris
Correct.
for him to follow up on, and then you'll have all the information in writing, and they'll also know how to get in touch with them. Because if someone has a specific instance where they haven't been paid, that's definitely something we want staff to follow up on.
Yeah.
If it were me and I were required to call you, I might forget. So that's why I'm suggesting the forwarding of an email.
Just please forward them. I have heard that it's possible that some election judges raised some issue that maybe some of the bonus days were not captured necessarily for them. We fix those as we go along. Again, handful of comments, but every comment matters. So please just send them to us so we can address them directly by the team.
And are the stipends distributed by paper check or electronic funds transfer, or both?
So the initial was paper check. For those who canceled paper check, I think we went into direct deposit, and we are rolling out full direct deposit as an option for every election judge going forward in 2026 general election. Our goal is to have as many direct deposits going forward as possible. But again, this will depend on the preferences of our volunteers. We will be respectful of their choices. But I think that we are in a good place, in a good county, in a good system that would allow us to be more efficient and simplify the process by doing direct deposits to most, if not all, election judges going forward.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for Boris? Okay, Kevin, Board Attorney's report.
Well,
To the extent that I didn't already make you give it already.
Hey, well, you already did. Nothing else is going on other than we completed the petition and we're waiting to see where we go from there.
Okay. Any questions for Kevin? All righty. Website update, Boris.
No, yeah, I'll be very brief for this update because we tried to roll out a new template that provides, I would say, almost the same information, but in more visual manner. We covered the same number of web page views and active users and sessions and everything. The only difference is instead of one document, it's 3 different documents. I personally like it better because for anyone who is interested to study into more details, it's easier to track this data and compare. As in previous board meetings, I shared 3 reports for last 3 months that would give sufficient comparison between the months. You can see that we had almost 80,000 visits in May. That number went to 180,000 in June, right? And then we went to just give me a second. And then we went to 13,000 in July. And this is a very understandable dip, if I may call it like that, because once the election was over, the summer kicked in. Great number of our residents, our voters, is not in the county. But again, this is one of those up and down curves that we go, and that I believe that our voters' interest will pick up as we, especially enter in September when the school is back in session, and we start our own outreach efforts and preparation for the general election. So,
Boris, the report seems to have, is that an actual graph after each one that shows the pattern of the month?
correct.
So when it says that there's 182,000 and we see that there's kind of a bump about three-quarters of the way down. That's roughly around election day, it looks like.
That's correct.
Okay. And when we see for the length of time that seems to bump up a little bit earlier, that's obviously something different happening, somewhere at the beginning of the month.
Fair enough. Absolutely correct, David. And I think if you look at the document for June, if you look on the right side, you will see that it's like election day or around election day that the bump is like so obvious, right?
Yep.
Because this is the time when we want users to use our website all the time. But this is when the pressure on our website is the highest, because everyone is coming to pick up those last moment information. What are the early voting sites? What are the election day hours? How can I find my polling place? Am I registered? Anything that could be done on time. So again, maybe I should this visual of intake of incoming interest in the course of 1 month, I think is relevant.
Yes. Well, and I congratulate you. I mean, we have almost 65,000 views of the early vote wait times, which I think is a good sign that people know it's there and that they're using it, which is, of course, the whole point.
Yeah, we were also pleased to see that people are actually using this. I mean, wait times were not necessarily that much of concern in this primary election, but I think a habit of our voters of utilizing our website, trust that they have treating us as the real source of information for the wait times, not some, with all due respect, any podcast or anyone who is there, means a lot, because I think this is something that is valuable for us and something that we need to preserve.
Excellent. Any questions for Boris about the website update? Okay, let's move on to the outreach update.
So, Berta will join me.
Excellent. Good to see you, Dr. Zelaya.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. So there was a discussion on the poll worker stipends. So I want to thank and extend our gratitude to our Future Vote families. Last week, the corresponding student service learning credits were emailed to guardians in which they were instructed to print and instruct their child to do their due diligence to submit their SSL hours to their corresponding student coordinator at their school. So gratitude to those individuals. Number two, we are in the cusp of just finalizing and confirming our visit back to public and private schools as it pertains to our high school outreach to encourage the young electorate not only to register to vote, but also encourage them to serve as election workers for the coming general election. It's going to be a tight turnaround. So we're finalizing those options and also working closely with our other academic partners, Montgomery College, Washington Adventist University, and the universities at Shady Grove. So we work closely with them as well. Also want to thank our partners. We've been somewhat active. It is towards the end of August. The focus is getting students back into kind of the flow of returning back to school. But we do want to send our gratitude to our community partners. On the 4th of August, we celebrated at 4 different national night out events. So gratitude to the police department, Department of Recreation, etc. We also on the 2nd of August went to the Salvadoran American Festival. I attended that personally, being Salvadoran American. But it was extremely wet. There was a handful of individuals there, but it was just pouring rain. But we were there, and we did register people and did recruit poll workers. Interesting enough, so it was an interesting event. Luckily, we had a plastic bag to put those applications.
If they are willing to register in the rain, I'm sure that's a good sign for what they'll be willing to do to help us.
Exactly, and also there's kind of a call to anyone who has bilingual skills to also. We want to encourage them to serve as poll workers. But of course, if you are monolingual, we still need you. So by all means, please apply. We also attended the first Taste of Burtonsville. They've never had this event, so that was actually a really good event. That was towards the end of July, so gratitude for that. And we held last week our National Poll Worker Recruitment Day. That's in conjunction as a national call for action by the Election Assistance Commission. So we participate in that as well. Moving forward for the month of September, we will be initiating and going out with the Election Assistance Commission on Help America Vote, which is on the 15th of September. An advisory will be out the first week of September, identifying the locations and times where we will have our staff there to field any questions and interests for individuals, not only to register to vote, but also to become election workers or future vote ambassadors. We also, on the 19th of September, are confirmed to attend Burtonsville Day and Poolsville Day. And we also have the Mid-Autumn Festival on the 20th of September. But nonetheless, by all means, whether an event is big or small, we do encourage the community to extend an olive branch to us. We will come with everything, applications, form, information, and we're there to serve. So please reach out to the Board of Elections if there's an event, whether it's 5 people or 5,000, we should be there, and we'll have a table and 2 chairs, and we'll do our due diligence to serve accordingly.
We appreciate that, Dr. Z. Am I right? Is Help America Vote Day the same as National Voter Registration Day?
Yes.
Okay, that it's rebranded in some fashion.
Yeah, they're
but,
rebranded with the EAC. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great, and thank you that's quite a diversity of events that you've been working at, and our team has been working at, and it's very much appreciated.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Anyone with any questions for Dr. Zelaya? Okay, thank you very much. Much appreciated. So, next on our agenda is old business, and I did want to discuss the questions that we got from Barbara Sanders at the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County, and make sure that we clarify our position on these subjects, which I think is not necessarily a change unless board members think that there is some reason to change. So the first question that came up was basically whether we are asking people to get their ballots delivered by U.S. mail versus printed home ballots, even if they are concerned about being denied the use of postal service delivery. And my point of view is, which I think is shared by the board, is that we don't view it as our role to request that voters vote in a certain method. We view it as our role to tell voters about all of the legal methods to vote, to return their ballots, to receive their ballots, and to tell them the pros and cons of each, but not to tell them which one is best for them, as that may vary quite a bit for different voters. For example, our overseas voters in particular have a need for printed home ballots. But we do have voters, and I've talked to some of them even recently, who do not want, they don't want to involve the Postal Service at all. We have the president's executive order out there, which there is a federal court that has issued a preliminary injunction blocking it, but it's still out there. And if people don't want to receive their ballot by U.S. mail, we have an option where they don't have to receive their ballot by U.S. mail. They can print it at home. They can also print it at the office, at the hospital, at the business center, at the hotel, at their off, there's lots of places they can print it, but then they can then deposit it in a drop box. They can deliver it to the polls. They can deliver it to our office. There are a lot of non-U.S. Postal Service options that people can use. And I did point out to the League of Women Voters that our board, I believe unanimously, supported my testimony in Annapolis against the idea of limiting people on the permanent mail-in ballot list to only using printed home ballots once and not being able to routinely use printed home ballots. And the legislature did not pass that particular provision. So it is still possible for someone who wants to avoid the Postal Service for whatever reason to do so and to do so on a recurring basis. They don't have to do anything in particular. Um, and so obviously people are going to have their options. We're going to keep people informed as best we can. Our sample ballot for the primary is going to, I'm sure that our sample ballot for the general election is going to look very similar. I should say our voter information packet is going to look very similar. And what that's going to say is if you do a print at home, you need your own printer, your own ink, your own paper, your own envelope. If you do return it by US mail, your own postage. If you return it not by US mail, you don't need the postage. You can use a Dropbox. But basically, we will tell people that all of those things are happening. We tell people that the ballots have to be hand duplicated. And if people, after knowing all of those facts, that's what they choose, then we have fulfilled our obligation to make sure that they know that. The second subject was the question of what is the date guidance for when voters need to request hand cancellation when returning their ballots through the mail? And where that is concerned, need is too strong a word because it's not a requirement, but we did get direct guidance from the local postmasters. We literally asked them this question. The guidance that we received is what we put in our sample ballot for the primary, which was if you are within 7 calendar days of election day, which for this fall's election would be October 27th. For the primary, it was June 16th, that we recommend that you consider entering a retail post office and getting your ballot envelope hand postmarked. And once again, if someone is concerned that that is too hard to do that in those circumstances, then we have the non-US Postal Service options. If you're out of town, though, you cannot use the drop boxes of other places and have the same reliability that you do for ours. Our drop boxes are picked up at least daily, twice daily as we get closer to the election. So in that last week before the election is a good chance that our drop boxes will be picked up twice daily. But if you're on the West Coast, for example, you don't have that as an option. But if you drop it in a drop box in California, we may or may not get it in time because we're relying on California election officials to send it to us. We would encourage people, as we always do, to vote as soon as they're ready. There's no reason to wait if you know how you're going to vote. Ballots will start going out on September the 19th for military and overseas and September 21st for domestic ballots. And our drop boxes will be ready at that time. We're not asking anyone to vote earlier than they're ready, but we are suggesting that 7-day period. The reason that started this conversation is that the League of Women Voters used an earlier date than we did. And I simply inquired of them if they had a particular formula for how they came up with what they did. And then they asked us, what is our guidance? And my thought was that the guidance should be what the Postal Service told us locally. So anyway, perhaps those of you who attended the meeting with the Postal Service have something to say, or those of you who didn't have something to say. I want to get a sense from the board as to whether anyone thinks any of this has changed. The floor is open. Ami.
No, I don't think anything has changed. I think we simply continue to reiterate our position that, be careful about this. If you want to ensure that your vote counts, these are the best ways to maximize the probability that it gets to us on time. And I don't see that we have any rationale to change anything.
Okay, anyone else? You all are quite a bunch today. But
It's too hot outside. We're all getting soporific from the heat.
okay, well, hopefully we're all indoors, but I definitely, I definitely understand. Um, so I'm not sure if there's much more to say. We would reiterate to people that they have choices. We are certainly monitoring what's going on with the Postal Service. I will say that when we met with the Postal Service, which I believe was before the second executive order, but after the first one, that it was very clear that they are very focused on delivering ballots until they're told they can't. And so I would be well, we'll see what happens in the courts with the executive order. If the courts were to rule that the Postal Service cannot deliver mail-in ballots, then we have a different situation. At least in the state of Maryland, we have as an alternative the printed home ballots. I realize that that is not music to the ears of any of us who work in the mail-in ballot canvass. Although I feel very strongly, and I know a lot of you do too, that our convenience is not nearly as important as the voters' convenience. And if that is what we have to do, that is what we have to do, and we will adapt to whatever the law is providing at that time. So anyway, anything else on that subject before we move on to new business? Okay, so the first item of new business, Boris, I'm going to ask you to explain what it is you need a motion for us to do, and then I'm going to ask board members if they want to make, who wants to make the motion.
Okay, just very briefly, the same motion that board made earlier this year before the primary election. Myself personally, and Janet Ross, who is our manager of voting system and IT section, we need board's approval, a motion from the board to direct us to conduct logic and accuracy testing in order to prepare all the units, voting units, equipment, election equipment for the 2026 general election. The board might recall, I believe the same motion was passed in March this year for the primary, and this is very repetitive before every election. We have to come before the board to ask for this motion.
Okay, the floor is open. Larry?
Yeah, just make sure you be clear when the motion says voting units, you're talking about scanners or poll books as well?
Everything that we do logic and accuracy, so scanners, poll books, and BMDs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Larry, while you have the floor, do you want to make the motion?
I will make that motion to direct the election director to conduct logic and accuracy testing in preparation of all voting units for the 2026 gubernatorial general election.
Okay, it's been moved by Larry. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Margie. Any discussion? Okay. All those voting members in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous, 5-0. Thank you very much. Boris, tell us about the next motion.
The second one, again, it's the same motion that was passed earlier this year in preparation for the primary election. The board's motion would authorize me or Janet to sign the reports at the end of each day of canvass. At the end of the scanning of each day of canvass after the election day, to sign the reports and publish those results as a follow-up. Board would recall that our canvass lasts till 6. Board will also recall that we close the canvass session sometimes closer to 7 because of all the work that needs to be done. And scanning we aim to be done by 8:39, but sometimes we go into 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock period. So traditionally, the board gives authorize election director or the manager of voting system and IT to sign those reports on behalf of the board. And we are requesting the same motion for the general election as well.
I'll just say, as someone whose tenure predated that tradition, that and on occasion had to drive home and drive back from home in order to sign the tally, that I think this is a good tradition. That because I think that it's perfectly fine for the election director to do this. I don't know. Perhaps Alex, you were on the board at a time when we used to do this in your earliest tenure. I don't recall exactly when it stopped, but in any event, there used to be that a Democrat and a Republican would, a member of the board would sign those tabulations at the end of each day, and sometimes the end of the day was quite late. So anyway, so is there a motion as Boris described? Ami.
You want to repeat your exact words, Boris, so it can be on the record, right?
This would be motion to authorize the election director and the voting system and the information technology manager to, beginning after the polls close on election day and at the end of each subsequent day of canvassing, prepare and release a report of the unofficial returns of the absentee ballot vote tabulation.
Okay, I will so move.
Okay, is there a second?
Okay.
Okay, seconded. Second, moved by Ami, seconded by Daniel. I will just point out that the law requires two things that this motion is consistent with. One of them is that no results are released before election day, and the other is that results are released at the end of each canvass day after election day. And this motion covers all of that. Any discussion? All those in favor, voting members, raise your hand. It is unanimous. Ami's your hand up. Ami, you are voting for this, right?
Yes, I am voting. Yes,
You did make
I'm
the motion.
sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I had.
Okay, or if you did, I missed it, and I apologize if I did. Okay, so so the next couple of items on the agenda actually relate to the next board. Our terms of office, as you all I'm sure know, goes through the first Monday in June of next year. And one of the things that each board does for the next board is to recommend what the next board's board member compensation should be. In 2023, we did it in January of 2023. In talking with Kevin about it for this time, first of all, we have had a tendency the last couple of years not to meet in January. It was very important that we do this before we know who is seeking appointment to the board, who's here, who's not. At this point, we don't have results even to know what the majority of the board will be because we are before the general election, and that's a good thing because this should be based on the job and not based on the person. So with that in mind, I am making a proposal, and in fact, I will move this proposal, which is that the proposed salaries for the board that serves from June of 2027 to June of 2031 be 20,000 a year for the president, 19,000 a year for the secretary, and 17,000 a year for other board members. And that is essentially a cost of living increase, an inflation adjustment compared to what we have now. And I will also move that the board's canvas fee increase from $75 per canvas day to $85 per canvas day. So, is there a second to my motion?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by me, seconded by Alex. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. And then the next subject is legislation concerning the conversion of the board's future substitute board members to voting board members, and I'm going to call on Keena.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move that the board support a local bill for the 2027 Maryland General Assembly session to change the Montgomery County Board of Elections effective within the next term, starting on June 7th, 2027, from 5 voting members plus 2 substitute members to 7 voting members. With that in mind, unlike what our board has proposed last.
Actually, before you go on, Keena, let me just make sure, is there a second to that motion?
Mr. President, I had a question about the wording of the motion.
Okay.
Is it 7 voting members and 0 substitutes? Is that the nature of the bill that we would be?
That's what I heard.
Yes.
Yes. Alex, was that a second or was that just a question?
It was a question, but with that clarification, I'm happy to second it.
Okay. Moved by Keena and seconded by Alex. Go ahead, Keena.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Alex. With that in mind, unlike our previously proposed motion for a House passed version of House Bill 1083 from the 2026 session, which the Montgomery County House delegation, and as you remember, the full House of Delegates passed unanimously last session. With the bill taking effect in June 7th of 2027, when the new term begins for the members of the Montgomery County Board of Elections, for me, it is simple, is that this board, while I've been on it, has been a hardworking board. And with that in mind, something that is a hallmark to this experience has been a matter of equity, in that all of the members I've worked with have been very responsible and very diligent to do work, no matter their title. And so with this motion that I've put to this board, it's with the understanding that our substitute members would be full voting members for the next board. This bill is about the principle of voting rights and not just about the people who have served or will serve as substitute members. As I've said, we've all done great work. We've all done this no matter the title. Alex, Margie, Larry are colleagues that I see equally. And I would love to see that the next board votes with the same equity as any voting member. So with that, I yield it back to the floor.
Okay, thank you, Keena. I'm going to speak next, and then Daniel, I'll be happy to call on you after that. I want to associate myself with what Keena just expressed and underline a few things. The first thing I want to underline is that the motion that she's making and the bill that she's supporting is the version of the bill that the House of Delegates passed last year. It is identical to the version of the bill that the House passed last year. So any of the discussion back and forth last year about the effective date of the bill, we are resolving this by doing what the House voted for last year. So I think that's an important thing to say. I also want to endorse what she said about the excellent work of Alex, Margie, and Larry, who have served as the substitute members during the current board term. I also want to add a few names from some of the substitute members who have served with me in my past terms, and that, in addition to Alex, who obviously served with me in my past terms, and that would be Jackie Phillips, Grace Rivera Oven, and Alan Banoff, who were full participants in every way but voting when they were the substitute members, and they added a lot to our board's work. I had the honor of serving as a substitute member in my first term on the board from 2011 to 2015. It was an honor to serve. I certainly worked as hard as anybody else. I made the most of the opportunity to be part of the discussion, but the dynamic would have been a little bit different with the right to vote. Um, I also had the honor more than 4 decades ago to serve as a non-voting student member of the Montgomery County Board of Education. So I have experience in what it's like to serve without a vote. During the latter half of my year on the school board, the then board president took a number of actions towards me, or attempted to, that I'm quite sure she would not have done if I were a voting member. That included trying to exclude me from meetings that I had a legal right and obligation to attend, trying to stop me from speaking at a large public meeting on a racial justice issue, refusing to pay for legitimate board expenses at a time when I had no salary and no scholarship, but a legal entitlement to expenses, trying to prevent me from officiating at high school graduations, and even trying to change my seat at the board table that was determined by my seniority over 3 other members. I prevailed in all those situations, but it was definitely more difficult and stressful than it needed to be. So if you ever wonder why I have gone out of my way as board president to support the service by this board's non-voting substitute members, I think my own experience as a non-voting member on another board provides at least a partial motivation for why I feel the way I do about including everyone. Let me just give a little bit of history about our fellow boards to show how this motion is completely consistent with what others have done before us. As Keena mentioned, the House delegation passed this unanimously. They did that in February. The full House passed it 133-0 in March. 22 of the 24 other local boards converted their substitute members to regular members at various times in 2011, 2015, and 2019. In each case, the membership changed from 3 voting members and 2 substitutes to 5 voting members, effective with the next term. Most recently, the General Assembly passed legislation similar to what we're talking about now in 2019. It took effect June 1st of 2019 for 7 local boards. 10 local boards made similar changes pursuant to various laws enacted in 2010 and 2011 that was effective in June of 2011. And 5 more counties made the same switch under laws enacted in 2012, 2014, and 2015, effective in 2015. In no cases did any of the local boards change their total number of members, and we wouldn't be doing that either. We would remain a 7-member board as we have been since 2007. Some of you may know, and I know Kevin will remember, that we used to be a 5-member board. We used to have 3 voting members and 2 substitute members, but legislation in 2007 added 2 additional voting members in Montgomery County to help with our workload. So I appreciate all of your support for the bill that we had in 2026, and encourage you all to support it in 2027. Okay, Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. President. And first of all, I'd like to associate myself fully with Board Member Kina's motion. Indeed, all the board members, voting and non-voting members, have been just fully committed to the work that we've been doing, present at every time, go through the rigor of scheduling their work schedule or non-work schedules to meet all the dates that are required to serve on the board. So I don't see any difference between me as a board member than any of the other board members that are on this board. So I fully associate myself with the motion on the floor. But Mr. President, I also want to thank you for not only the passion, dedication that you've put into this effort, which is noble. And I believe all board members, but let me speak for myself, because I know I reached out to legislators in support of this. And I know in most recent meetings, I even protested and turning my camera off because I wanted to make sure one of my colleagues, who is a substitute member, would vote on my behalf. So I fully
I would
associate.
encourage you in the future to let her know in advance. Uh,
Point
but
taken, but
yeah,
it
yeah.
just tell you the passion with which I believe wholeheartedly in this. Um, and I was happy I was not rebuked by board attorney, for doing that. But with all seriousness, I fully want to associate myself again, and I will basically, if there's a need, hopefully they pass it unanimously like last year, and then it goes to the Senate and is also passed unanimously. But I want to make sure that anything that I can do, speaking for myself, I'm going to be doing it again to make sure that we get this to the finish line. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Kina, for introducing the motion. Thank you.
Let me just thank you, Daniel, for that and for your words. I do want to just make one thing clear. When we indicated that we are endorsing uh, or proposing to endorse today the bill as it passed the House of Delegates, that was in no way a criticism of the Senate of Maryland, which unanimously voted for the bill as we proposed it last year. And so, in fact, quite the contrary, there was a difference of opinion on that subject. We're just reminding everybody that that difference of opinion is no longer relevant. That was really what we were trying to say. But in any event, is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this motion? Alex.
I won't take up much time on this. I fully support and urge my colleagues to support Kina's motion, and for all the reasons that I explained in my testimony before the delegates at the committee hearing earlier this year. The only thing I would add is that whatever the rationale for creating the substitute member position was, I think the actual facts of how all of board members work have not supported that rationale for at least the last 15 years. So I think it's time to make all of them regular members. And there really is if there ever was a need, there has for a long time ceased to be a need for substitute members, given the reality of how we all have worked. So for all those reasons, I urge my colleagues to support Kina's motion.
Thank you, Alex. And thank you for including my tenure in your 15 years, in addition to yours. So I appreciate that. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor of Kina's motion, raise your hand. It is unanimous, 5-0. I'm going to take note of the fact that presumably the two substitute members, if they could have voted, would have voted for that. But I will say that I appreciate the fact that we have been as unified on this subject as we have been from the beginning. So anyway, okay, I believe we're on to the listing of future action items. Boris, do we have future action items from today's meeting?
One, if I recorded well, the board asked me to further research and inform the board about 3 domestic mail-in ballots that were mailed timely but received late by the staff.
That is correct. Were there any others that anyone can think of?
Mr. President, I think was that
Yes.
request in connection with Ami's question about where it was mailed from or how far away it was? Is that?
Well, I had said that I just want to know more, and Ami had said she wanted to know where it was mailed from, and I think Boris will take that as an indication that we want to know anything that is possibly relevant to what took them so long. That's the way I would interpret it. If other board members have specific things they want to ask, where it was mailed from, where it traveled through, if there's more than one postmark on it, I'd love to know, like, if it got routed to the wrong place. Anything that we can do to help us to understand so that we can encourage the Postal Service to fix whatever causes this to happen. Three is not that many, but three is three, and three more than we want.
And I think that we should recognize, despite his best efforts, which we know he will employ, there may be limits to what he can discover about that.
That's correct.
Absolutely. That is absolutely true. On the other hand, we have established, and Boris in particular has established good relationships with our United States Postal Service representatives that we've met with before. And so I'm hoping that he can talk to some of them and see what they can help us to find out. But you're absolutely right. We are not holding Boris responsible for coming back to us with the absolute answer. We're just asking him to find out what he can. Daniel.
Yes, Mr. President. I would really like to know in terms of uh, if the postmaster or people within the post office have seen this type of scenario where, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this mail took, is it 2 weeks to get to us?
More than that.
More than 2 weeks to get to us.
I don't know what the exact number is, but in order for it to be late, it had to take at least 2 weeks to be late. Because the deadline day was 1 day shy of 2 weeks.
So really, well, first of all, the where it first hit the post office, right, system. So that would be, there's a post, and there was a postmark on that. But then again, what is it normal, or is it something that is, even if it's not normal, but does it happen, and how frequently does it happen for mail to take this long within their system to get from wherever the destination is to our offices? So I would really want to know if this is something they've seen before, if this is something they've seen repeatedly, or what's the frequency of this happening? Thank you.
Okay. Any other future actions from today's meeting? Alex.
I assume that, although we haven't really talked about it yet, that Boris will need to brief us on Mr. Mark Theron's concerns about his calculation and time delivery of his compensation as an election judge. And some of the other issues that he raised in his email. I realize that Boris has not had a chance to look at that yet, but
so as I said in my discussion about covering the stipends for the election judges, that we had a handful of election judges where we have problems, and I don't have a problem explaining. I have to go back to Mr. Election Judge's email, and I'll respond to the board to the items that gentleman listed. I apologize, I don't remember from the top of my head. I remember there were multiple items, and I know that we already pulled quite a few information. I just didn't get around to that to provide to the board. Petition kind of took my days away lately, so yeah, I'll get to the point about that.
Okay.
We spoke
So
to
then,
Mr. We spoke to election judge multiple times after that email, so we follow with him directly.
Excellent. Thank you for doing that, and we will look forward to whatever information you can provide us. Anything else? Okay, we're on to approval of minutes. We have 5 sets of minutes to approve, and they are May 18th, June 23rd, July 8th, July 16th, 10 a.m. meeting, and July 16th, 2 p.m. meeting. And I am once again looking to make sure that we are looking at the same email. I believe that my email of 10:22 p.m. last night might be the most recent one, the one that we are voting on. Is that Ami is nodding her head? So there were in that group, there were some minutes that, let's just say that as you know, first of all, thank you to Ami for doing the initial review this month. There were some where she had no edits. Some of these are very short. The certification meetings in general are very short. The election day meeting is slightly longer, but not much. Um, but there's some where there were no comments. There's some where she had comments and I didn't, and there are some where we both had comments, and they were all labeled as such. And hopefully, you've had a chance to look at them. Um, I will entertain a motion for. Well, let me ask this: is there anyone who wants us to separate any of the five from the others, or can we do them all as a group? Okay, no one is raising their hand, so I'm assuming we can do them all as a group. So, Ami, I'm going to ask you if you want to make a motion on the 5 cents of minutes.
Yes, I move that we accept the minutes of all five, all 5 minutes, let's put it that way, presented to us as I edited and then David edited after I did.
Okay, Kina, is that a question or a second?
Second.
Okay. Moved by Ami, seconded by Kina. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. And it is unanimous. Okay.
I'll make one quick remark, David. You are
Oh.
better at distinguishing the use of the word which and that than I am.
I appreciate that, and I would like to give full credit to Strunk and White for teaching me that at a young age. And I realize that to some people that's happy to glad, but that is not how Strunk and White views it. So in any event, but thank you for that. Did Kina, you went off camera for just a moment, and Margie raised her hand. I didn't know whether you voted on the minutes or whether Margie voted on the minutes. Either way, they're approved. I just know for the minutes for the minutes of this meeting, we probably need to know which one of you voted.
Yes, I came off camera. Margie voted.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. President.
I appreciate that. Okay, a list of our future meetings. We have a virtual meeting next month on September the 28th. Keep in mind that that is not the third Monday. The third Monday is a religious holiday for some people. So we are meeting on the fourth Monday. We are starting that day at 2 o'clock, moving to closed session, and then we expect to have our open session start at our typical 3 o'clock time on September the 28th. Then the first day of our pre-election canvass is Tuesday, October 13th at 10 a.m. at the Training and Canvass Center in Gaithersburg. And we have a virtual meeting planned for 11 a.m. on election day, as we typically do. And once I've heard back from all of you about the potential canvas days, we will have at least we'll be able to schedule the canvas sessions. As you guys know, all canvas sessions are subject to change, subject to the number of ballots we receive, subject to making sure that we have the sufficient quorum, et cetera. But I'm very hopeful that we can line everything up so that we can get our work done efficiently. Boris.
Before we adjourn the meeting and announce today's executive session, just a small reminder to the board members: you all should have in your inbox a Zoom link to the executive session to follow this regular session.
And I look like I have something, and I'm just seeing what time it came. It's from Jerry, and it came at 3:53.
Something like that. Let me just
Yes,
confirm
that's what it is on mine. Ami, you have your hand up.
For some reason, I did not get that. I've had occasional email problems lately. Could somebody forward that
Yes,
again?
I am forwarding it to you now.
Thank you.
And hopefully, hopefully that will work. Kevin, do we need to make a motion to go into executive session?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Would someone like to make the motion? I believe that the agenda says what the purpose of the executive session is. Alex.
Mr. President, I move that the board adjourn from its regular session and enter an executive session to consider several requests from individuals for confidential voter status.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Daniel. All in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous. This meeting is adjourned. See you in the
You
closed
get
meeting.
5 minutes, David?
Okay, we will, I'll tell you what, we'll give you 10 minutes. At 5 o'clock, we will convene an executive session.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody.